yeah, it's really nice to look back on days like winning a Chester Cup, because, as I said, that was the first day that really sort of probably changed my career.
Were you always going to be a jockey?
Probably not, no. I kind of started down the pony routes, was doing a lot of eventing. It was definitely always going to be something in horses. And then I probably around the ages of sort of 10, 11, I really started getting hooked on the racing when I started sort of understanding it more and going racing with Dad even more. And yeah, I'd say from about that age, yeah, it was kind of all I was ever going to do from then.
Can you remember a point when you really decided, I know you said you wanted to do it from kind of 11 or 12, but when it was like, right, this is serious now, I need to focus on this and put my time and effort into it?
I started riding out when I was 12, and I just kind of got the bug from then. At that point, I was basically just getting run away with every single day. But I think the challenge of it sort of really ignited my love for it. And yeah, I was eventing to a pretty high level till I was about 17, 18, and started race riding when I was 18. And I did a couple of years sort of overlapping the two, and then it just, yeah, the sort of racing took off a bit, and it became apparent that that's where my attentions were always going to be.
What's the difference between eventing and race riding?
A lot of, there's not really many similarities, really. I'd say the sort of mental similarities are probably there, just like dealing with pressure and sort of very high pressure situations, and but the sort of the way you ride is obviously completely different, and but with the same sort of principles about balance and rhythm and stuff like that, but there's not really many similarities.
Where did your dad fit in as jockey coach, or not?
Never, never. It's interesting. I think he very quickly got George Baker to look after me in that sense. He was obviously rode a lot for Dad when he was riding, and I'd still speak to him every day. I think with me and Dad's relationship, it wouldn't have worked if he was constantly trying to critique me. Obviously, we had a lot of conversations about it, but still to this day, we've never had a cross word about one of my rides, because he always said to me, if you're not employing a jockey that doesn't know when they've messed up, you're employing the wrong jockey. And he always knows that I'd be the first person to come in and say, I made a mistake, I should have done such and such instead. But yeah, no, we've got a really good relationship in that sense. We've never had a cross word about a ride, because he knows that I know when I've messed up.
Have you ever had to, I guess, like being a jockey isn't a normal life, especially from 18 through to early 20s. Has there ever been a time when you've had to really kind of make a call on, or a sacrifice, I suppose, that you're not going to be going out doing normal things, you're going to be going up and down the country? It is a very different life. Or is it not a sacrifice because it's just what you want to do?
I think I've never seen it as a sacrifice, because that was never something that really interested me. I was always a very driven and sort of tunnel vision kind of person. That was what I wanted to do, and the going out, all my friends were at uni and stuff like that, and it just was never something that really interested me. And there's positives and negatives to that, and when people say, oh, do you not feel like you've lived like a sort of normal life of an 18 or 20, 23 now, so, and no, but there's also the other side of what 23-year-old basically gets to travel around the world doing what they love, which to me has never felt like a job. Like, the money aspect of it is a bonus, but I genuinely just love doing it. And yeah, it's epic when you think about all the amazing places that I've got to go, and that's a better way of thinking about it.
What's the most fun places then, or the most exciting things that you think you've done already?
Riding in Dubai has been awesome. I loved Australia, but I think riding in England is amazing when it's home and you've grown up with British racing and the prestige of it and all these amazing racecourses, amazing places, amazing races. It's when you've grown up watching those. I think it's probably the same whichever country you're born in, but when you've grown up with British racing, that's where you dream of being most successful.
Since you won the Chester Cup, you've ridden domestic group winners, you've ridden big races overseas. At the time though, that was a bit of a checkpoint, or I read you said something along the lines of it was probably your first big winner. How do they help you mentally, if you feel like you need it? But I guess a jockey always needs big winners of confirmation that you're doing the right thing. Did the Chester Cup act as that a bit?
I think it was kind of like a kickstart for me. Like the beginning of that year hadn't been that fruitful, and it was a real turning point, and it just meant a huge amount because I had so much confidence in Messier beforehand. Like, I remember my valet ringing me. He actually wasn't there, but my southern valet rang me straight after I got back into the wearing, and he goes, he joked that I'd said to him back in November the year before that I'd win the Chester Cup. And I actually was walking the course and I saw you. I said, I'm going to win the Chester Cup today. And I had so much confidence in that horse. And I think, the manner that he won it in, and it's such an amazing race. And it was probably my first big win. It was probably the first time that I got like a serious kick out of a winner. And I think once you feel that buzz, it's kind of like a drug, and you end up just chasing it wherever you go, really.
Do you remember the finish? Because it was like you had to weave your way through a bit.
Yeah, it was pretty manic. Like, I was drawn.
Did you think you were going to get there?
Yeah, the whole way up the straight I thought I'm going to get there, but I think I remember I was really confident, and then the draw came out and I was drawn 15. And I remember ringing George Baker, and he said, I rang him, I was riding out, I think, I rang him and I said, I can still win from 15, can't I? And he goes, might be a bit of a challenge, but I didn't jump very well, and I got stuck further back than ideal, and he was a pretty keen horse, and it felt a very long way around when he was basically ripping my arms out the whole way, but no, he was so game that day, and it was extremely tough, and the whole way up the straight it was sort of, I always felt like I was going to get there, but it's just obviously big horse like that, a long race, Chester's not a very long straight, so you never know, and sort of the margins were small, so it was an unbelievable buzz.
Good fun to ride at Chester?
Yeah, love riding at Chester. Even the May meeting obviously is amazing, but all the meetings there just have such a great atmosphere, and is probably one of the only race courses where you have the crowd literally hanging on the inside rail, which is really cool, and it's just a great buzz around the whole city as well. It's just brilliant. What
about your work with George? You mentioned you rang him, he was the first person you rang when you were drawn wide. What work have you done with him over the years?
I speak to him every day, like when I got beat on Saturday in Dubai, he was the first person I rang. He always jokes that he's kind of like my psychiatrist.
Jockey coach
/ mental health coach. He's been amazing all the way through, and I've worked extremely hard with different sort of aspects of my riding with him, and tactically I don't think you would have found a better jockey when he was riding that, say, tactically he was just so brilliant, and I speak to him every day, good or bad, and he obviously knows me so well, knows the way I think, and it's really nice to have someone that you'll sort of got a really consistent relationship with and really trust their opinion. This game is full of so many people's opinions, and that everyone wants to stick their 10 pence in, and I think having the right team around you that you know that they'll give you their honest opinion and you can trust it. So I think he's been sort of integral in my career.
We're sitting here talking about the Chester Cup in 2023, and you're disappointed that you just got beaten a UAE Derby. Do you see how rapidly your career is developing? The fact that you can sit here and be disappointed about Saturday. Yeah, I
don't really think too much about it, because it's just, I think if you're constantly looking backwards, then you'll never go forwards. And this game, it can change so quickly, and literally not even like most sports people, you've got like tennis players, they'll go from one big open to the next, and that's every few weekends or whatever. But for us, it can literally change every half an hour from race to race. Like, I've had races where I've won the race before, and the race after I'm in the back of an ambulance. So its game just can change so quickly, and I've just tried my best to stay as level as possible. And it's really nice to look back on days like winning a Chester Cup, because, as I said, that was the first day that really sort of probably changed my career, and it's quite a big thing to say, but it really did. And yeah, I'm lucky now that I'm getting sort of good opportunities on really nice horses, and yeah, long may that continue.
How have you changed, do you think, mentally? If you think about Saffie going out to ride in the Chester Cup in 2023 versus Saffie sat here now?
I think I'm a lot more level. I think I was probably a bit more sort of erratic back then. I probably let my sort of emotions get the better of me a little bit. But now I think once you've had a few of those sort of bigger winners and stuff like that, and for me now I feel like each time back then when I was getting one of those opportunities, I never knew when the next one was coming. So you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to try and make sure that day goes right, and luckily that day it did. But now I'm fortunate that I'm starting to get more opportunities sort of in those bigger races, and they're coming a lot more consistently. So you've always sort of got the next thing to look forward to, and I think that really helps mentally. But yeah, I think I'm just probably a lot more of a level person now than I was then.
What about riding at Chester then? Let's picture you in the stalls, ready to race. Let's say you've got a good draw.
Always helps.
which is a good start. How, like, I guess if you're describing it to someone that hasn't sat on a horse, how do you get a horse to break well?
I think the horse that jumps the best is the most relaxed horse. If they're messing around and they're not standing straight in the stall, so some horses will lean up against the sides, or you can sometimes see them doing a little rear or something like that. Those horses don't tend to jump that well, because a horse has to get really low to jump, and if they're messing around and not concentrating, they just most of the time they just won't jump well. So trying to keep the horses as sort of relaxed as possible, and I think if you see the people that are best at the stalls, they're the people that interfere the least with the horse, because it's quite sort of a hard and
see how this one jumps.
But no, yeah, the relaxed horse will normally jump the best, and yeah, Chester jumping out the stalls quick can be really key, especially in those sprint races. It can be a really hard place to be drawn wide, but yeah, a good jump will stand you in good stead around Chester.
What if you're drawn wide then? What can a jockey do if you're drawn wide?
It depends. Sometimes you just have to take your medicine and hope they go really fast, and sometimes you'll see the pace will collapse in front, and those horses that then have taken their time will be seen to best effect. But yeah, I think those are the sort of decisions that you have to make sort of split second. I think a lot of the time, if you're drawn really wide and you're hoping to slot in halfway, you'll probably end up getting trapped a bit wider than ideal. But yeah, I think split second out the stalls, you've got to be deciding whether you're going to put a lot of pressure on the horse to be going forward, or just hoping that they go fast and you can slot in and take your time. But Chester's the kind of place you can't really make too many plans if you're drawn wide. You just kind of got to feel it as they jump, and yeah, go from there really.
You've won a Chester Cup, so you might be biased, but what do you find more fun to ride in? One of those short, sharp sprints at Chester, or a staying race at Chester?
Depends what horse you're on, really. Like, if you're on a Biscuit, no, don't growl at the other dogs.
Biscuit.
I think if you're on a horse that
Biscuit doesn't want to ride in the sprints.
I think if you're on a horse that if you're on a really sharp sprinter, one that, you know, jumps really well, travels really well, and you'll see so many horses over the years that turn into Chester specialists for that reason. They're just very sharp horses, got a lot of gate speed, a lot of tactical speed, and those horses are really fun to ride. Like, those horses, the best way to describe Chester in like a 5,000 sprint is like going around a circle in a motorbike. Like, you're just constantly turning, and it's great. And obviously, but the Chester Cup is such a tactical race, and some of those sprints I find they can just be sort of jump and go, whereas I feel that there's probably a bit more tactical awareness and pace awareness that goes on in a Chester Cup. So obviously I'm going to be a bit biased, but yeah, I love the sort of longer trip races around Chester.
Is there another one you'd like to add to your CV list? Maybe a Chester Vase or a Cheshire Oaks, or another of the list of races?
Any of them would be really nice. No, I was lucky enough to have a few big rides in the group races there last year. Haven't managed to win one of them yet, but yeah, that would be really cool. It's obviously Chester comes at a really exciting time of year with the sort of Derby and Oaks trials there as well. So yeah, it helps Chester really helps sort of paint the picture for the good horses going forward over the rest of the season.
Has Biscuit been to Chester?
Biscuit has not been to Chester. She will not be coming to Chester after that performance, I'll tell you that.